relationship. In today's video, I am shining a light on rumination, specifically how it can be triggered by narcissistic relationships. We'll explore the reasons why people ruminate, the signs that indicate that you might be getting caught in this cycle, and most importantly, I'll talk about some practical strategies to help you break free. If you've been affected by a narcissistic partner, understanding rumination is key to reclaiming your peace of mind. So let's dive in and take the first steps towards healing. What I want to do is just very briefly talk about some reasons why people ruminate. It's certainly a phase that some people go through and others don't, and that's totally normal. The most common idea behind rumination is that by doing so, you'll gain insight into a particular problem. And those who are most affected and have a tendency to ruminate are people who have certain codependent signs like perfectionism, anxiety, or an excessive concern about their relationships with other people. People often find themselves ruminating due to strong emotions like sadness or anger, which can keep those negative thoughts looping in their mind. Past conflicts, unresolved issues, especially in relationships, narcissistic relationships, make it very difficult to move on as individuals might replay arguments or conversations in their head. And this is often compounded by fears of repeating the mistake after a setback, and it can lead to further overthinking. Low self-esteem and perfectionism can also fuel rumination, causing people to fixate on their perceived flaws, their failures, and things like that. For those who have experienced trauma or have been in a narcissistic relationship, which is trauma, the cycle can be even more intense. People will struggle to make sense of their feelings and their experiences as well. Recognizing these triggers is a crucial step towards breaking free from this mental loop that a lot of people get stuck in. And it's really important to recognize the signs of rumination as they relate to being in a narcissistic relationship. So let's talk about that. Number one, constantly revisiting thoughts. Somebody in a narcissistic relationship might repeatedly replay interactions with their partner, trying to make sense of the gaslighting or other form of manipulation that they've experienced. Number two, difficulty concentrating. The emotional turmoil caused by a narcissist can lead to a real inability to focus on daily tasks or conversations, as people are usually preoccupied with their partner's behavior. Number three, restlessness and or agitation. Feelings of anxiety or agitation can arise from the unpredictability of a narcissistic partner, making it hard to find any calmness or peace. And if you've dealt with a narc for any length of time, you know the last thing that they're concerned about is you feeling safe or secure. Number four, sleep issues. Ruminating about the relationship dynamics, including any kind of fighting or whatever it was, their cruel remarks, their devaluing, can lead to things like insomnia, disrupted sleep, and let's not forget about nightmares as well. Number five, physical symptoms. The stress of navigating a relationship with a narc can manifest in physical symptoms, headaches or stomach aches because of the ongoing emotional strain. And those physical issues, headaches and stomach aches, for some people can only really just be the beginning. It can absolutely get worse. And so we'll move from physical right into number six, the emotional distress. Individuals might experience really heightened feelings of sadness or frustration or worthlessness as they struggle to reconcile their self-image with the negative messages from a narcissistic partner. We know they destroy your ego, they destroy your self-esteem, and just make you feel terrible about yourself. Number seven, isolation. A person might withdraw from friends, family. They can feel shame, they can feel misunderstood or scared. And those things are often used by narcissists to maintain control. They will try to isolate people. Number eight, overanalyzing the interactions. After conversations, after fights, after breakups, individuals might obsess over every little detail, word, gesture, trying to decode it. But all they're doing is trying to decode mixed signals, and they're seeking validation or clarity. A lot of people end up doing that. You're looking for some kind of validation that you were with someone toxic and abusive. Dealing with narcissistic abuse can be incredibly challenging. And that's why I offer a flexible phone chat service tailored to fit into anyone's busy life. You can connect with me, a survivor who genuinely understands what you're going through. My service is very relaxed, affordable, and creates an incredibly supportive environment that just feels like a conversation between two friends and not a cold, formal, stuffy little therapy session. We'll share experiences as fellow survivors, and I can also provide tips that are designed especially for you. I'll validate your experience while being the listening ear that I know every survivor needs. If you have any questions or you want to learn more, don't hesitate to reach out. All the ways to do that are on the screen for you now. I'm a phone call away and ready to support you on your path to healing. So if you find yourself engaging in some of these activities that I just spoke on, and the thoughts become very bothersome, overwhelming, you feel as if it might become an obsession, or you feel maybe it already is, and the thoughts are intrusive into your day-to-day life, those are pretty good signs that you're ruminating. Luckily, there are lots of things that you can do to begin to slow the rumination process. So the first thing that we have to talk about when it comes to that is distractions. When a person begins to ruminate, finding a distraction can actually break the cycle, which is the first thing that anyone should attempt to do. It'll get you going in a different direction. When I was personally going through this, I made a rule for myself. When the thoughts began to creep in and they disrupted my day and they bothered me, I would get up and leave whatever room I was in, stop what I was doing at the time, and do something else. In those moments, I was both mentally and physically changing up what I was doing in order to break the cycle. Did it always work? No, of course not. But what it does is get you in a habit of at least attempting to break the pattern. Grab a book and head into a different room. Find a comfy spot in your home and grab your phone and call a friend. Put on your shoes, head out of the house, and do some exercise. Something different in a different place. Along with distractions, I need to add this here as well. Now, distractions are great. They're going to help you try to break the cycle and get your mind on something else. But what really works is when you add in passion and purpose along with the distractions. The distractions are just to kind of break the cycle in the moment. But long term, we got to talk passion and purpose. I've said it for years now that finding things we're passionate about, finding areas in the world where we can really dive in, hyper-focus, make a difference, all that stuff, greatly increases and propels our healing. When you work on something that you have a passion for, guess what you're not worried about? You see how trivial a lot of those thoughts are, if you even still have those thoughts at all. You really begin to understand most of what happened, that it can't be fixed or changed, and things are going to roll on. If you don't have a passion, your passion should be finding one. If you don't maybe feel like there's any purpose, which I felt that way a lot, I can promise you, your passion and purpose is not to sulk and ruminate over a shitty narcissist. And to that, let's move on to number 2. What can you actually change? One of the most vital things I feel that anyone can learn is to work out what you can change and what you can't. To learn that something you can't change isn't worth thinking about is like so huge in the healing process. Instead of going in circles, you just throw out the things you can't change and you don't have to worry about them anymore. There's no need to focus on stuff that you can't fix. And instead, what you do is you take all the things you can fix or you can change, and you begin to make plans based off of that. You make plans as small as you need to, break it down into as many steps as it takes. Making small plans, taking small steps and small changes leads towards bigger ones and begins to break the cycle of rumination. Number 3, getting some perspective. We often find ourselves ruminating when we think that we've messed up. We said the wrong thing or we're responsible for something going wrong, like with a narcissist. We feel responsible to pick up their responsibility. We feel like we're the reason why the relationship has failed. And taking a step back can really help you see things more clearly. For example, if you've made a mistake, let's just say at work, you might try to think about how big your mistake really was, because it probably wasn't that bad. Remember a similar situation from the past and how it turned out. Always apologize if you need to, especially apologize to yourself, because keep in mind, everybody makes mistakes. Number 4, adjusting your goals. Setting really high or unrealistic goals can make you feel like you are constantly failing. And that just unfortunately leads to more rumination. Like I said a moment ago about making plans, set achievable goals, short term goals, maybe long ones as well. Maybe some goals that are a little bit harder to reach, but have the steps to get there. This can actually help you reduce stress and overthinking. People who have goals actually think a lot less about the negative things going on in their life. Number 5, boost your self esteem. A lot of people who ruminate struggle with self esteem. There's a link between low self worth and rumination. So, to build your self esteem, focus on your strengths and appreciate what you do well. I always tell people gratitude journal, even if you hate journaling. Gratitude journaling can literally change your life, and it's the easiest thing. If you have 3 minutes a day, you can do it. It's crazy. Number 6, try meditation or deep breathing. Meditation is all about clearing your mind, and it can help to stop some of those ruminating thoughts that you're having. If you catch yourself stuck in a loop, find a quiet place, sit down, and take some deep breaths. It can actually be very calming. Number 7, know your triggers. Pay attention to when you start ruminating. What time of day is it? What's going on? Who's around? What have you been doing? Understanding your trigger can help you manage the thoughts. Do you ruminate more in the morning? Well, instead of sitting around maybe and just scrolling through your phone, take the dog for a walk. Or maybe if you have a long drive to work and that's when you ruminate about it, call a friend instead of just sitting alone with your thoughts. You don't have to do all of this alone. Number 8, chat with a friend. Like I just said, ruminating can make you feel really isolated, but talking to a trusted friend can actually give you a fresh perspective. You can ask them to help you list some successes or just to remind you that things are going to turn out okay. Proceed with caution. Chatting with friends can often turn into seeking validation from them, and that is a slippery slope to go down because the way you saw the relationship, the way you see the reality, might not be the way your friend does. And it doesn't make them right, it doesn't make them wrong. But nobody else is going to see the relationship or this person probably exactly the way you do. Remember, you are the only you, and you are the only one that you can really go off of in your relationship with them. No one else is going to have that experience, but you can certainly reach out and chat with people to just boost you up and help you a little bit, and just talk to somebody positive and supporting. Number 9, consider therapy. If the ruminating thoughts are really taking over, therapy might be a good option because a therapist can help you figure out maybe why you're stuck in this cycle and how to tackle the root. Cognitive behavioral therapy, otherwise known as CBT, is especially useful for finding new ways to handle the situation. It's just pretty much talk therapy. While you're talking, you're processing, and if you work with a professional, you might find some things that really work for you. Number 10, set realistic expectations. Again, if those goals are too high, you're going to feel inadequate. You're going to have those negative thoughts like I'll never be good enough or I should have known better. Take some time and reevaluate what you realistically want to achieve and adjust your expectations accordingly. There is no rule or law, survivor, that says you have to be perfect. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for more videos on narcissism and how to heal. If you have tips or experiences about this that you would like to share, leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself. Once we part ways with the narcissist, it's no surprise that a big hole is created in our lives. So, in this video, I want to talk about the most positive ways that we can go about replacing a narcissist. And finding real passion is a great place to start. A passion in life has to be something, not someone. And this is a phrase that I came up with years ago as I was on my own journey to finding peace and passion in my own life. We sink everything that we have into our relationships. And that's not entirely an awful thing, but when we invest in the wrong person and overinvest and they leave and it's over, we end up having nothing left. So, real passion needs to be an idea, a concept, a hobby, something that really sparks a fire in your soul. Is it traveling? Is it hitting the gym? Is it writing that amazing novel that you've been thinking about? Find those passions in your life. Passion that cannot be taken away from you if you get into another relationship and that comes to an end. Volunteering to help the homeless, the needy, the hungry, animals, anyone, everyone, in any way that we basically can truly feels good for the soul and is a great replacement for a super shitty narcissist. When I talk about boosting self-esteem, this is something that I always bring up. Getting our self-esteem back, it's a great way to replace them. Go out and meet other people, help animals, join organizations and causes, and really go out there and be more helpful. Again, it makes you feel great and you're helping others. Challenge negative thoughts. Replacing the narc also means working hard to replace the damage that they did, and we can replace that damage with positivity and support. Constructive, compassionate criticism is what I talk to my clients about that I work with independently to challenge some negative or intrusive thoughts that they might be having. Maybe you broke no contact. Maybe you're having a hard time blocking them. Maybe all you can still hear in your head is them belittling you. Whatever it is that's happening, we can talk to ourselves just as the narcissist implanted the incorrect ideas in our mind. We can tear those out by the root and begin to replace them with positive seeds and compassion and being constructive in our ways of thinking. And very, very slowly over time, we can begin to get rid of the garbage and replace it all with much more positive ways of thinking. Rediscover who you are, because you are not the person who gave in to the narcissist. You've been worn down by a bully who clearly has nothing else to do with their time. After a narcissist is gone, you can replace them by finding yourself. I promise you, that huge hole in your life and your heart that you're feeling, it's not all about the narcissist. That's not the only person that you've lost in all of this, and that's not the only person that you're grieving. Who you've also lost is you. Who are you? What are you all about? What do you want? What do you stand for? What is your purpose? What is your passion? Take this time to put you in the place of where the narcissist used to be. Become narc-proof. Take time replacing this loser with what actually needs to be replacing them, because eventually we all move on to other forms of companionship, friendship, relationship, whatever, and there are things that we need to think about. What are your standards? What are your boundaries? What are your consequences if boundaries are violated? What are your deal breakers? These are things that you need to know to become narc-proof. You need to know the signs to look for. Are you being love bombed? Recognize that's toxic. A great way to start becoming narc-proof is to learn about the disorder. Are you on a journey of healing from narcissistic abuse? Have you dealt with someone toxic and just highly narcissistic? You're not alone. As a survivor myself, I understand the complexities of this journey, and that's why I offer a safe space for you to share those experiences and receive empathetic support right over the phone. I provide counseling sessions tailored to what you need and whether you're struggling with setting boundaries or the aftermath of abuse, or if you just need someone to listen and validate you, I'm here for that too. All the information that you need to get started is on the screen for you now, and it's also available at any time down in the video description. Your path to healing begins right here. Find purpose. This is huge as far as healing and replacing a narc is concerned. When I found myself alone after my discard, I can be very open about this. I struggled with what I was supposed to do and what was my purpose in life. Like I say, I can share this openly. I was 33, unmarried, obviously. I didn't have any kids, and I still don't, for anyone who's curious. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not a parent. I'm not a spouse. What do I do? For those who are experiencing this, because I know I'm not alone, this is extremely depressing. Long story short, once I learned about narcissism, and that's also a helpful thing, so we're going to get to that in a minute, but once I learned about it, I felt compelled to share, and that was 5 years ago when I went to YouTube to make some long, ranty, angry videos, and now this is my purpose. This is what I'm supposed to do. So, what are you meant to do? Finding this makes you feel so much better, and finding your purpose and your passion and realizing that it's not a toxic person just really propels your healing. Explore new hobbies and experiences. So I learned about 600 different things that I was not good at or didn't like when I went through replacing this person that I had picked. I learned I can't paint worth a damn, but I like other forms of art, so on and so forth. Replace the narcissist with passion, purpose, new experiences, and new hobbies. Keep in mind, nowhere in there did I say people. Work on things independently, learn to get okay with being by your onesie for a while. There is nothing wrong with that. And get into new things, new ideas, new hobbies, new places. We don't need to worry about people right now. Take a little bit of a break from peopling. Learn about narcissism and toxic people. Here we are. I told you we'd get back to this point. Learning about narcissism, the cluster B personalities, mental illness, signs of toxicity in general, those help us all find answers. And I truly believe it helps us find some closure as we move forward in our life. Even if this person isn't a narcissist and we can't diagnose them, so they may not be, we're never truly going to be sure. But what we can identify is toxic. What we can identify is bullshit that we don't deserve to have to put up with. We can also identify these traits in others and ourselves. Knowledge is power, and it can take so many pieces to fall into place to help us moving forward, but really learning about narcissism is truly a great place to start. Make yourself a hobby. Working on yourself in preparation to replace the narc with you is a great thing to do. Make a plan to hit the gym, get into therapy regularly, make sure you're up to date on all your checkups. Do you have what you need? How are finances? Do you need to work on savings? Do you want to go back to school? Can you tell me 3 short-term goals that you have right now? How about 2 long-term goals that you have? What's your 5-year plan? Are you going to go for that promotion? I can go on and on and on. Trust me, you have way more going on, or at least you should if you don't. The more time that you have to spend thinking about this individual, I'm sorry, survivor, here's your shot of tough love for the day. That means you have too much free time. Practice forgiveness. Now, let me be very clear before I get comments from people who are too bitter and nasty to forgive anybody. Forgiveness is not necessarily for the narcissist, nor is it for anyone who has hurt you ever. Forgiveness is for you. Let me say this to you. Not everybody in your life who's ever hurt you, and it's more than one for all of us, they don't give a shit that they hurt you. The narcissist doesn't care. Narcissism, true blue narcissism, is selfish. So don't start thinking that all of a sudden they care now about the fact that they hurt you. Forgive the fact that this person is possibly mentally ill. They have disorders of multiple varieties, perhaps. They have a lot of trauma, unresolved trauma.
Honestly, these are things that they can't help. We can't choose what traumatizes us, and we don't choose the mental illness that brung us. It does not excuse the behavior, but this is the behavior of someone who is ill. I have bipolar 1 disorder. I've done things in my life that are mean to people because of my illness. It certainly does not make it right. It is what my brain decided to do in that moment. My trauma has also caused me to make poor decisions, as has everybody's. So I'm just saying that I would hope that somebody would forgive me if I had done something bad. I personally would want someone to have mercy because I have an illness. So I'll just say it like that. However, if you do not choose to forgive, I'm not your mom. I can't tell you what to do. But I will say this, though. It is incredibly freeing to be able to forgive and let it go and stop holding on to so many negative, ugly feelings. It feels good to move forward. I'll also say this. If you're not ready for this at the moment, you don't have to forgive them. But work on forgiveness of yourself, because what I can guarantee is you are being way too hard on yourself throughout this process. Attend therapy regularly. I cannot think of a better person to replace a narc with than choosing a person who will be there by your side through all of this. Always remember, there are professionals standing by to go on this journey with you. It would have taken me so much longer to get a handle on things if I had to do it alone. And I am thankful to this day for my care team. And finding somebody for you in your area could be as easy as a Google search away. There are apps you can try, like BetterHelp, although I've heard some horror stories about the app. I have personally never used it, so I don't know. I just know that it is available for folks if they want to give it a shot. There are also low-cost options available. I had no job and a whole income of zero when I began therapy. Look around to see what options you have. You are worth the investment. Survivor, tell me how you replaced the narcissist. Share that with me in the comments. If you found this video helpful or interesting in the slightest, consider subscribing. It's completely free and a great way to support my efforts to reach as many survivors as I can across the globe. Thanks so much for listening today. Have a great day, Survivor, and take care of yourself. After a narcissist discards you, or even if you're the one who chooses to end things and walk away from the relationship or the friendship, whatever the case might be, it still hurts to lose somebody who we thought we were so close with. I really wanted to make this video to give some tips that I actually used myself to go from broken survivor to healing thriver. As usual, there's no real order to these other than the one that I wrote them in. So here we go. Number 1, education. This is the best place to start after everything is said and done with a narcissist. And it's what you're doing right now. Getting educated. You're watching videos, reading stuff, and learning about the disorder that is narcissism. So I encourage you not to stop at narcissism and not to solely focus on narcissism. Not everybody in the world is a narc. It's really better time spent to look at the characteristics of toxic people in general. It's not just narcs that we need to look out for, and it's not just narcs that are out there in the world. A lot of unhealthy, unstable people have the same toxic traits. So if that's what we begin to get knowledge on, and if that's what we start to look for in people, it helps us exponentially. Learning about narcissism and some of this other stuff really does also help with getting closure and understanding why these folks are doing some of the things that they're doing. It really helps give you some answers to some of your questions without having to talk to them. Number 2, realize that there is an addiction. There's a reason why it's so hard to let go of this person, even though you're not stupid and you know it's bad for you. And it's simply called addiction. More so, it's really called a trauma bond. And these are bonds that are formed through positive intermittent reinforcement. Now, I'm not a professor, so to me, that's big words that mean you get rewarded sometimes and you get punished sometimes. But the rewards you're getting from the narc are so good and so overpowering and so euphoric that you're willing to take the punishment you know you're going to get because another reward will soon be on the horizon. Once we realize that this is why we're having a hard time letting go and that this person has a hold on us, we can actually begin to break the bond. I have a whole playlist on trauma bonding. I will link it down in the video description just below if you want to click on that and get more information. If you want to talk about this more in depth with me, you can reach out to chat one-on-one. Number 3, you have to actually grieve multiple losses. You're not just losing a relationship. You're losing a partner, a friend. Maybe they had kids. You had stepkids. You don't get to see them anymore. You're losing what you thought you had with them, maybe financial things and, physical possessions. You're losing who you thought they were, what you thought you were. There's a lot more to grieve than I think a lot of people really give credit to, and more than I think a lot of people understand. Along with grieving, another issue pops up: confusion. Well, how exactly do you grieve an abuser? This feels very upsetting and confusing to a lot of folks because we don't miss who was hurting us. We miss who we thought they were, or maybe who they were or seemed to be in the beginning of the relationship. There's a duality here that again creates confusion. It's the good old Jekyll and Hyde situation. And there seems to be two people in our minds: the idealized version of this person that we have, where they're our soulmate, they can do no wrong, everything's perfect. And then the reality, the yucky part, the abuser. So working on the trauma bond can help separate fantasy from reality, and then grieving who we think we lost really helps as well. Number 4, be the busiest that you have ever been. This person is going to be on your mind 24/7, obviously. So there is no better time to become the busiest person you've ever been. And I don't just mean sitting around binge watching a television show. I mean passion. You have to find your passion. What are you good at? What do you miss doing that maybe this person was holding you back from? Maybe you should learn a new skill. Volunteering helps other people and also boosts your self-esteem and makes you feel better at the same time. That's a great way to go. Distractions like TV and all that kind of stuff are nice, but really what gets you moving forward is progress in your passions in life. After my discard, naturally, as this is my full-time job, I began to research mental illness, disorders, YouTube, how to make videos. I was learning 2 different languages at the same time. I was trying all different kinds of art projects, realized how much I loved making videos and talking about all of this. I dove headfirst into what was fun and exciting to me. Now, it didn't cure anything. I'm not here to promise some magical cure or tip or technique. There isn't any of that. But when you focus on passion, not even the narcissist can pull you out. That's how you know it's a passion. When hours pass and you don't even realize what's happened. I've been doing this for 5 years. When I get into writing and editing and creating, hours and hours go by and I don't even realize it. It feels like it's been a flash. That's how you know there's a passion. I'm not worrying about problems or other things that are going on. This fuels me to do more. It fuels me to go further. And that is how you know you have a passion, and that's what you need to be busy doing. Number 5, understand that you need support. I've said this a million times. You cannot do this alone, but more importantly, survivor, you don't have to. It doesn't make you better or stronger. You don't need to sit alone with all of this and not talk to somebody. There are folks locally in your area that you can talk to. There are apps like BetterHelp. I'm not sponsored by BetterHelp or anything like that. I'm offering ways where you can talk to somebody. But there are a lot of ways to reach out and share. Now, the professional who you find might not necessarily be an expert on narcissism or personality disorders or anything like that. But I'm just going to be honest, you don't really need that. You need somebody who can listen, where you can talk openly and have a conversation in a safe, judgment-free space. Again, there's no cures or real answers that these folks can give you, but they can listen. They might be able to offer some tips, and most importantly, they can validate your experience and make you feel comfortable. Without my counselor, this would have taken me so much longer to process, and it already took me about 9 or 10 months to get on a better footing. Psychologists, counselors, therapists, social workers, medical doctors, support groups, online stuff. Some is free, some is cheap, some places charge on a sliding scale. There really truly is somewhere for support for everybody in the world who needs it to go, and I strongly encourage you to go get it. Number 6, purging the possessions. Okay, this one bothers me. Why are you hanging on to all of their shit? Like, seriously. Why do you have their physical possessions and all that other crap, and you've been hanging on to it for weeks, months, maybe even longer? Are you holding on to it because they're going to come get it? They're not, by the way. Or do you just not want to let it go because that means you're letting them go? Both is a symbolic thing. Tough love time, survivor. You're not a storage facility, and you don't need to be. You set that garbage right out to the garbage. You know you don't have to do this. You don't have to hold on to this shit. A quick text, a quick call, a quick email. Hey, your stuff is here at this time, which is outside, by the way, and it's supposed to rain today, so I suggest you make some arrangements. That's all you really need. Let that shit go. Another thing that we're holding on to that we need to purge, the calls and the texts and all the correspondence. Why are you doing this to yourself? Reading this pathetic shit they send you over and over and over. Listening to the voicemails and all this crap. Why? You are doing yourself a huge disservice. Now, if you need them for court or something, this is 2024. Get them on a flash drive, print them out, do what you got to do. Delete them and get them out of your phone. If you'd like help and support for what you're going through, you can set up a phone chat with me. All the information you need, including a number to reach me, my website, and an email address are all on the screen for you now and available down in the video description. Number 7, celebrate the small stuff. You really have to celebrate every small win that you have along the way. Have you been no contact for a week? Get yourself a treat. Did you go to therapy and, oh my God, it was a hard, upsetting session, but you got through it and you feel better? Well, celebrate. Maybe you went to a support group and you met some really great people. I mean, whatever it is, celebrate the small things in life. Celebrate the small things in your recovery and your healing. Because if you're just waiting for those big things, they are so few and far between. You're going to give up. You're going to get upset. Celebrate, if nothing else, how powerful, resilient, and wonderful you really are. Number 8, constructive, compassionate criticism. Flat out, we screw up. Everybody does. We're human. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we do, we don't have to be hard on ourselves. And then on top of that, not be constructive and not learn anything from it. So I put together what I call constructive, compassionate criticism. All I was doing was judging myself that I wasn't healing fast enough. Why did I still care about this person? You know, I was really making myself not feel good, almost kind of like the narc was doing to me. So once I let myself be human and I stopped trying to be perfect, I stopped trying to heal so fast. When you do those things, you feel so much better. I still screw up. I always will. I don't berate myself or tell myself I'm stupid, I should have known better. I say, okay, here's what I did. I take some responsibility and I understand these things, and then I move forward. I say, well, you could have done this. I say, you messed up, but more importantly, here's why, and now I know not to do this. It doesn't fix everything. Again, none of this makes everything perfect, but why be hard on yourself? Why be miserable? The narc has already treated you like shit. Why do you want to take that same treatment from yourself? So I did everything on this list that I've shared today in the first 3 to 6 months after I was discarded by a narcissist. And I really feel that it propelled me through my healing and helped me be who I am today, which I'm not ashamed to say I'm pretty proud of. Have you done anything on this list? What did I miss, of course? Point that out to me. And what did you find helpful? Share all of that down in the comments. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself.
Detaching from a narcissist and from a toxic relationship can be incredibly difficult to do. The tricks, that a narcissist will use, like blame shifting, guilt tripping, and gaslighting, even more, get you to stay when you know that it's in your best interest to end the relationship. This video offers some steps to begin to disengage with this person. Keep in mind as you listen, this person is incredibly manipulative. They do not want to lose you, and they will pull out all of the stops if they can prevent you from leaving. Number 1, accept it. Change is very unlikely. It's completely normal for a narcissist to promise you that they'll change when you have one foot out the door and it looks very, very bleak for them. They'll promise you a lot of things, but changing their ways is always going to be at the top of the list. The ironic thing about this is once they offer you this idea, oh, I'm going to change, I'll do this and I'll do that, and everything will be different. Once you accept it, and you decide to stay, you'll try again. They see that they actually don't have to change, and therefore they never will. All they have to do is promise it and then just not deliver. Also, something to consider is when they move from person to person the way that they do, they need to keep fresh new people around all the time to actually avoid having to change in the first place. They get somebody brand new that they can fool as long as they possibly can over and over. Accepting that change is not going to happen helps you detach and begin to move forward. If we adopt the way of thinking where if they cared about you, wouldn't they have already been working on these things? Wouldn't the change either already be in the process of happening or already done? Number 2, connect with really supportive people. If the narcissist has just done a bang-up job of getting you very isolated, you might not even feel like you deserve a good partner or family, friends, someone to go to. However, to get away from someone narcissistic, a support team really is an absolute must. Triangulation and other manipulative tactics might have also ruined relationships that you have had with others. It's a great time to try to get back in touch, rebuild those, and during this time, build up your support system. Find those you can trust and really talk to openly about what you're going through. Find who is really going to be on your side. Share that you want to leave or that you're thinking about leaving. Perhaps adopt an accountability buddy, so to speak, somebody who you say, I'm getting ready to leave, or this is when I'm leaving. Somebody who can hold you accountable if you maybe decide that you don't want to do it, and someone who will urge you to do the right thing. Number 3, cut them off. No contact is the only way to go, period. For those of you who can't do this because you have kids, for example, I have some videos on how to gray rock like a professional, and what I will do is I will link those down in the description for you. However, in this scenario, I am talking about going no contact. So if you can cut them off, you need to cut them off. Here's the deal. When you don't do this, you keep feeding the narcissist's ego. You are sending signals that you're still interested in them, that you're still all about them, and you can't walk away. Now, between you and me, survivor, this might be true. You might still love them. You might still want to be with them. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with how you feel. And validating how you feel is super important. But it is no longer the narcissist's privilege to know that information. Staying in contact makes them feel entitled to keep hoovering, to keep interacting, to keep the ball rolling. If you truly want this to end, then end it. Stop sending the mixed signals. Be an adult. Block them. Change your phone number. Don't lie. Only like 6 people are going to get your phone number anyway. Delete your social media. Chances are we all need a break to unplug anyway, and you know it's the truth. This is where this is not sugar-coated, survivor. If you want to be done, be done. They have no reason to just magically float away like you want them to if you continue to entertain them. For whatever reason, you keep doing so, and for whatever reasons you may or may not be in denial about. Don't keep telling them to go away and to stop calling. Don't keep allowing them to pop up in your social media by blocking and unblocking. Prove to them that you're done and be silent. If you'd like to talk with me one-on-one, I invite you to book a chat session with me. You can gain skills, clarity, and insight into healing from a narcissistic relationship from a fellow survivor. Share your experience and vent in a safe and judgment-free space. Links and information are down in the video description below. Number 4, don't take their behavior personally. You can't take the way that the narc is acting personally. This is a personality disorder. They might have a mental disorder and other emotional traumas. All that stuff this person probably has going on. And none of those things have anything to do with you, survivor. It's hard to do, not take things personally, especially when you are personally treated badly by somebody. This is the nature of the beast. I am sure you have seen them lie to other people, lie by omission, be mean to other people, be cruel, ignore someone, ghost someone, be intrusive, insensitive, walk away, discard, whatever toxic behavior bullshit it might be. It's clearly not just you. It's about this shitty little part of themselves that's not very flattering. Don't hang around to defend yourself. Don't loiter, hoping one day they will choose not to treat you badly. You have already shown them, honestly, that it's okay to be bad to you. We teach people how to treat us. They don't care about what your defense is. They just want you to keep staying and defending yourself because, honestly, it keeps you around longer. A great way to begin detachment. Don't take this personally. Number 5, go and find real happiness. This person is not a source of your happiness. And if you feel this person is, I strongly encourage you to change things around and go find real happiness. These people are going to do things like tell you that your hobbies are stupid, your friends, annoying, your family, an irritating waste of time, your goals and dreams are stupid. They don't matter. They will suck your very identity away from you if we let them, which most of us do, myself included. Along with that, the sheer neediness of these people will also cause you, in a lot of cases, to just give up on things that you had going for you in order to be better supply for the narcissist. It becomes all about them, and you and me know it. Your world begins to be shaped into what do they like, what do they want, and what do they not want. It's important to get back into what you love and what you're passionate about. Go back to your hobbies and your passions, find new ones too. While you're doing this, something amazing begins to happen. You realize after some bursts of happiness here and there, doing your own thing, you begin to realize you're happy. And the more that happens, you begin to realize you're better off without this person. Number 6, you don't need their approval. And this can be a tricky one for a lot of people. I get asked questions that kind of have to deal with this a lot. I hear things like, if I stop talking to them, won't they be mad at me? It feels mean. If I go no contact, they're going to think I'm mean. Or I might hear something like, should I block them on social media? I don't really want to block them. They're going to think I still like them. They're going to think that all this bothers me. They're going to think I'm a coward. Won't blocking them show that it hurts me? And on and on. Why do you care about what this person thinks about you who can't even treat you with respect? Survivor, if you take nothing else from my video, which I hope is not the case, but if you don't, I'm actually begging you to hear me. Someone who treats you like this, someone who can't be a decent human to another human, why do you give a fuck about what this person thinks about you? Here's the deal. Look how they treat you. They don't think very highly of you, clearly. Reflect back for 30 seconds at the behavior that you have and are enduring. On top of all of that, narcs are looking for perfection, which you are not, because nobody is perfect. So you're gonna fail. You're always going to fail. You're not what they want, and nobody else is either, because no one is perfect. You fail. You always fail, and because you fail, because you're not perfect, because you're not what they want, you will continue to be punished. You will continue to not meet their approval. And for some reason, they keep telling you that that's a you problem and you can fix it, so you keep jumping through the hoops. Don't waste any more time trying to be on their good side, looking for the approval, looking to be in their good graces. You're not. You're a tool. And I say that with no name calling intended. You're a list of goods and services available to this person. You're an object, an inanimate object, and they don't care how they treat you, because guess what? At the end of the day, you're not special. You're not unique. You're not different. You're not a person. You're an object, and you're replaceable. You're a sofa. There's a million other sofas out there. Cheap ones, expensive ones they'll never have, and ones they don't want. You're a sofa. Stop worrying about what these people think. Who cares? They can't even be a good person. Why are we concerned with their approval and making sure everything's okay? They can't even be an adult. They can't admit their flaws, their imperfections, their faults, their shortcomings. They can't get help for their issues. They can't take any accountability, responsibility. They can't do anything constructive. And from that, you can make a dynamic conclusion. You don't have to care about what a clown thinks about you. You don't need the approval of a clown. All you have to do is show them their way back to the circus. These are a few steps to detach from a narc. If you know more, share them down in the comments with other survivors. Thanks so much for listening today. Subscribe for more videos about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. Like the video if you found it helpful. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself. When it comes to the aftermath of a narcissistic relationship and healing from it, I think there's a lot of things that people don't realize. I want to share the harshest lessons I've learned during my recovery from a toxic narcissistic relationship. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. If you want more videos discussing narcissism, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Number 1, you won't forget this person. And I hear this from a lot of survivors, some combination of, when am I just going to forget about them? When am I just going to let it go, forget them, forget their existence, and get on with my life and get back to normal? And here's the harsh truth that I learned. We don't forget this person. There absolutely comes days in your life where you don't give them much thought, you have less and less emotional responses to certain things, and ultimately acceptance and indifference will hit. And for some people, this takes longer than for other folks, but forget? Absolutely not. You're never going to forget the person who did horrible, awful things to you. As of writing this, I was discarded almost 5 years ago. I haven't forgotten this person, and not just because I do this for a living. When someone traumatizes us, forgetting is not an option. There's no cheat codes, there's no amnesia, there's no reset button. This has affected you deeply, and you won't be forgetting it or this person, probably for the rest of ever. Number 2, there's no justice for what happened. Justice is the idea, the concept that all humans should be treated with some level of fairness. No, there's no justice here. You were not treated fairly. Now, we're not perfect. We don't do everything perfectly. We're not perfect partners in relationships. I'll never sit here and say that we are. But nothing was done to us that was actually deserved, and I think we can all pretty much agree on that. Now that it's happened, though, there's literally nothing that will settle the score, so to speak. Revenge doesn't exist. You can't hurt somebody who doesn't give a shit in the first place. It's a waste of time. You look petty, and truly, they're only knocked down. They're not knocked out. They'll find other jobs, other relationships, other peers, other friend groups, other money, other living situations, other everything. All you can do is turn your focus inward and work on yourself. Going after revenge, being mad that there's no justice for this, however you want to say it. Honestly, it's all just a big waste of time. Number 3, I've learned sugarcoating things doesn't work. Dodging emotions, living in denial, trying to get through this in the lightest, softest way possible does you absolutely no favors. Healing is not light and fluffy and cute and something you do in your off time. If I'm being honest, and I am, I find those ideas and those concepts ridiculous and annoying. This hurts. This is raw. This is awful. This is gut-wrenching. You can't run from it. You can't hide from it. And most of the time, there's no one to hold your hand through it. But here's the thing. We don't grow. We don't learn. We don't heal unless we push outside of our comfort zone. No growth is ever discovered where you are comfortable. I had to do things I didn't like. I had to accept things I didn't like accepting. I had to take responsibility, be an adult, and get a grip on reality, none of which did I like. I had to sit in extremely uncomfortable emotions and situations. I had to go to therapy for years, on and on and on. Save the sugarcoating for the cookies and the fairy tales. This shit is real. Don't do yourself a disservice by trying to skip around it and beat around the bush and go into denial and act like it's not happening. Oh, it's not really that bad, so on and so forth. This does not help you. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, get help, guidance, and support for what you're going through, you can send an email to bookachatwithjess@gmail.com, or you can visit my website and book a chat session there. All that information is on the screen now and available down in the video description for you. Number 4, if you don't do the hard work, you don't feel better. I'm aware that this entire video is going to ruffle feathers and piss people off and be controversial, but when has that honestly ever stopped me? But just a reminder, these are lessons I personally learned. However, it doesn't make them not accurate. So here we go. Flat out, if you don't work on healing, you don't feel better. You just don't. If you're not working with a counselor, if you're not journaling, working on standards, boundaries, staying no contact, learning how to gray rock effectively, how to break a trauma bond, staying away from their social media, and blah, blah, blah. If you don't heal in a healthy way, you're not going to heal at all. You're going to stay sad and mad, obsessed, bitter, and unhealthy if you don't put the work in towards getting better. Number 5, no, they don't care. They don't give a shit, and they can't afford to. That's right, they don't care. They don't care at all. People with narcissism have unmet needs and unmet wants. And if you're not doing what they want you to do, they're going to find somebody else who will. This is not a relationship with emotions. This is a business arrangement with terms and conditions. Narcissists make it your responsibility to meet all of these needs instead of being their own person and learning how to do this on their own. You're not even a real person. You are an object. Serve your purpose or they move on. And even if you feel like you're doing a great job, even if you are doing a great job and doing a lot for them, they may not feel it's enough. They're never going to feel like it's enough. So yeah, they move on and they don't care, looking for what they feel is the next best thing. The joke is ultimately on them because they're never going to find it. They're seeking perfection, which is an idea that doesn't really even exist in the real world, but they don't care. And that is something that you've got to accept. Number 6, being mad only hurts you. Ooh, I didn't like this one. I finally had to ask myself, Jess, how long are you going to be mad about this? This other person isn't mad. They're long gone. They don't care. They're on to the next day. Couldn't care less. How long are you going to be pissed about what they did to you? And sure, acceptance and indifference takes time and work to get to, but really, the anger, you have to let go of it. This person has mental issues, emotional issues, and probably other issues. They're not going to work on those, so why are you mad? This is the way this person is, and what are you going to do? Sit around and be mad forever? It doesn't bother them one bit. So the idea that I came up with, what I started thinking about was, you wouldn't be mad at a person in a wheelchair because they can't walk. That would be super fucked up. Why would you do that? There's a difference between I can't and I won't. Narcissists can't do what needs to be done. They don't have the emotional maturity. They don't have the empathy. They don't have what they need to have to behave like an adult. I mean, really, I can't stay mad at somebody with so many problems. I mean, really, take a look at this person in your life. It's no wonder why they behave the way they do. Most of them have no home training, a terrible home life. They were bullied or abused in their own right. So this is who they are. You can't be shocked, you can't be surprised, and really, you can't be angry. I learned I can't be mad at somebody for being who they are. That's who they are. Why would I be mad about that? Just like nobody can really be mad at me for who I am. If you don't like me, that's fine. Keep it moving. If I don't like you, if I don't think you behave right, then I move on, and that's just what we do. I can choose that it's not somebody worth dealing with. I can choose to not have this person in my life. But just to be angry because of who somebody is, no, that's just who they are. You accept it. You go, okay, that is not right, but good luck to you on that one. If you'd like to join my survivor group chat where myself and other survivors talk and share about all aspects of life, as well as my monthly survivor roundtable chat, become a channel member today. A link to get started and get access to all that is down in the video description for you. Number 7, you change. You change a lot through this experience. Not only did I learn about narcissism and other disorders, I learned a lot about myself. Those were far more invaluable lessons, I assure you. I didn't know what empathy really meant or what codependency was all about, and I actually didn't realize that some of my behavior was super unhealthy and toxic. This all makes you different. Yes, this whole experience makes you a different person, but don't fear that, because who you're going to end up being in the end, if you heal in a healthy way, is strong and intelligent, resilient, and capable of anything. Who I was before this all happened, yeah, that person really needed a drastic change. And let me tell you, when you go through the healing and you do it in a healthy way, you are not the same person you were before, and it's amazing. Number 8, this person was toxic, but you know what? So was I. I learned I love bombed people. I learned I wanted attention, and I learned a lot of not cool things about myself. Other things that I had gone through, especially when I was younger, made me who I was. It made me codependent, amongst other things. I spent about 2 years healing from my relationship, but honestly, another 2 or 3 years discovering all of the not cool things about me and doing my best to work on them. But we're always growing, we're always changing, so work on ourselves is never going to end. Yet another thing I think we need to accept, we're always a work in progress. It was a hard pill to swallow that I had toxic traits too. We all do. Narcissism runs on a spectrum. We all have some of those traits and tendencies, and that's pretty normal, pretty human. These are probably the shittiest lessons I've learned, but lessons nonetheless, and there were absolutely many more. But share with me down in the comments the harshest lesson that you had to learn from your experience. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself. In this video, I think it's important to discuss why a lot of survivors are ruminating in the first place. Once we have the knowledge of why, we can work on processing this information and hopefully find some relief from ruminating about really toxic people like narcissists. So let's talk about it a little bit. Why is it that people ruminate? One reason is because you might be facing some really stressful situations, right? And because we have no control over something, we hyper-focus on how we can either solve the issue or control the situation. If you're highly codependent, you might have issues with control. Anxiety and having overwhelming amounts of fear will also cause people to have some control issues. It can make us very nervous, very anxious when something is out of our control. And I also think the older we get, we realize we have less and less control over things in our lives. So we can ruminate and get stuck on how to gain control over something or someone who is very clearly out of control, like a narcissist. Another reason people are prone to ruminate is if you have a history of trauma. It doesn't matter what kind, emotional, mental, whatever the case is. I believe the most common reason that people ruminate and have these really intrusive, obsessive thoughts, especially when it comes to dealing with someone so toxic and narcissistic, is because they're trying to gain some insight into why this person is acting this way or why a person acts so narcissistic in general. Because, I mean, let's think about it. We have such limited information, right? Narcissists are absolutely not communicative at all. They refuse to communicate. They ghost you. They give you a silent treatment. They discard you with no warning. When they are talking to you, they're pathological liars. So you never know what's true and what isn't. And that's when they're not too busy gaslighting you, causing you to lose your grip on reality. So now, even more, you have no idea what's real, what's true, and what isn't. How could you not try to think about some of these scenarios and situations ad nauseum to try to gain closure and insight on some of this information? You might have all of these different questions. What could you have done differently in the relationship? Are you the bad guy or girl, respectively? Could this have been different? Well, what's so great about this new person? Why am I being treated so badly? Or why was I treated so badly? Maybe I shouldn't have done A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Maybe I shouldn't have said 1, 2, 3, and so on. All of these certain situations and scenarios might be swirling around, and we're desperately looking for information and how to solve these problems and answer these questions. When we get stuck in ruminating, as we all know, I'm sure, that can really snowball and get completely out of control. And then we can't stop ruminating. It can be a never-ending circle that is incredibly difficult to interrupt. So what I want to do is go over some of the ways that you can absolutely break the cycle when you're kind of in the thick of it and you can't stop ruminating. Number 1, constructive, compassionate criticism. And this is a phrase that I've come up with over the last 4 years that I think can be really helpful when we're identifying that we do ruminate and maybe we are having obsessive thoughts about certain things. The problem is we can be really negative on ourselves and these situations when we ruminate. Victims of abuse, highly empathic people, codependent people are all more likely to blame themselves over another person. They will blame themselves, as I'm sure you do, like I do. We're always the cause of everything wrong. Everything at the end has to be all of our fault. So we can focus in on this. And that might be where some of your ruminating questions are coming from. Did I do something wrong? Why couldn't I fix this? Why did this fail? What's wrong with me? Maybe I am crazy. Maybe I do need help. Why did they cheat on me? Why were they mean to me? Am I not good enough? Why did I get all of this abuse that I didn't deserve? So on and so forth. And when we use CCC, we take each thought as it comes. Let's take the examples that I gave just a moment ago. Did I do something wrong? We'll start with that. You can think to yourself, sit down and make this a little bit constructive. Instead of hyper focusing on did you do something wrong, get to the answer here. What did you do to this person? To the point where they just left and they couldn't have a conversation. They don't want anything to do with you. We can be constructive and give ourselves some answers. Okay, so let's try to sort this one out. Did you do something wrong for this person to treat you like garbage and ghost you and leave and do all these terrible things? Let's say you did do something wrong. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's flawless. Everybody has their own faults. Did this person come to you like an adult and let you know that you did something that they don't like? Did you have a real conversation about it? Not a yelling, screaming match, not something that ended maybe in a worse way than that, perhaps even physically. Was there a solution? Did you get to voice your opinions and thoughts? Were there any apologies from either side? Were you really so awful that you deserved to be left in the way that you were? No, probably not. You may very well have done something that they didn't like. It's actually not hard to do something that an overly controlling, manipulative narcissist doesn't like. But I bet it was a fight or an argument. No answer was found. They probably didn't communicate. They gave you a nice silent treatment. So now you have to sit and question what you did wrong. But the thing is you don't know. Maybe you actually didn't do anything wrong. Maybe you weren't actually wrong. Remember, demanding that somebody be an adult, communicate effectively, be faithful, and so on doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make your standards too high. It doesn't make you too much or over the top or too extra or some kind of nag. But somebody narcissistic will convince you that your reasonable requests, standards, and boundaries are bullshit. So, what did you do wrong? Really stop and think about that. True, you may have done something. These people are very easily offendable. I'm sure if you would have known, if there would have been a conversation, I'm sure you would have apologized. And this is the process. This was just a quick, probably not very good example, but this is the process that you can go through. We can go into another one. Well, why did they cheat? What's so wrong with me that now they need somebody else? Or why do they need all of these different people? Well, who said there's something wrong with you? Maybe they just did what they wanted to do. Maybe this is what they wanted and needed. Maybe this was their ego boost. Perhaps this is a question for the narcissist, not for you to sit here and dwell on. Maybe this is a question for the whiny little brat with their low self-esteem who needs attention and needs to cheat. So when we use constructive, compassionate criticism, we are compassionate towards ourselves without making ourselves sound perfect or flawless, because we know we're not. But instead of just having these ruminating thoughts, we're going to be constructive. We're going to come to some kind of a solution. We will criticize ourselves. For example, I broke no contact and that was wrong, but I did it. So why did I break no contact? What's happening here? I'm going to be compassionate towards myself. I reached out because I really wanted an apology. I reached out because I really want some attention. So now let me figure out how to rectify this and where to go moving forward. This is what you can do. Constructive, compassionate criticism. You will find a lot of answers to questions, and then you'll dwell on things a whole lot less. If you'd like to talk with me and get one-on-one help and support for what you're going through from a survivor, you can email bookachatwithjess@gmail.com. Number 2, one of the best things to do to stop ruminating. Don't try to force logic from the illogical. Narcissists have a very strange duality about them. It's Jekyll and Hyde, back and forth, all or nothing. We know this. We've probably even heard phrases like this. Well, if you're not with me, you're against me. Well, if you don't love me, then you must hate me. We know these people have very extremist ways of thinking. It's very much left, right, up, down, door A or door B. There's no in between. They'll tell you that they hate summertime because it's hot and humid and there's never anything to do. They want to stay inside and kick it in the AC. And in the next breath, they'll tell you how much they love the beach and going on a boat and water, wind, and waves because you mentioned a really sweet vacay that they might be able to take advantage of. These people flip-flop. They're chameleons. They have no personality of their own. They're leeching off of whoever they're getting supply from for their personality and their loves and hates and hobbies. You will not find logic here. You will not make sense of something so completely nonsensical. And here's why. Only the narcissist or toxic person in question knows why they're doing what they're doing. They leave and find other people and do all this other bullshit that they do because they truly feel in their brain this is the best move for them to make in that moment. They're very transparent, they're very transactional, and they will always move where they think the best source is. They're leeches, they're vampires, they're parasites. When the host doesn't seem to be serving the purpose, it is simply on to a new host and it's nothing personal. A narcissist puts themselves first. Now, empaths typically do this last, and therefore, with being polar opposites, the actions of a narcissist are never going to make sense. Please don't get your PhD in this kind of garbage to try to figure out that we're wired differently. There's different dysfunctions happening in everyone's brain. Don't force logical explanations from someone so impulsive, immature, and illogical. Number 3, discover the when and change it. A lot of times we ruminate during certain parts of the day, certain seasons or certain months, maybe the month of their birthday, maybe your old anniversary date, maybe early in the morning before you go to work. It's sometimes very helpful to take a note of when you find yourself really having all of these thoughts. And it's probably when you have nothing else to focus on. Maybe you take a break at work and boom, your mind is flooded. You get up early before work or you get off of a late shift and maybe you have a long ride home or something and it's just kind of, you in the car with the radio and like your thoughts, and boom, you start ruminating and start going. There are things that we can do for that. We can use distractions, passion, and purpose. Instead of ruminating over your morning coffee, take your dog for a walk or hit the gym. I would sleep in, but we might do things differently, you and me. If somebody is maybe up early, maybe a family member or a friend, give them a call or a text. Take your routine, figure out the when. When do you find yourself really doing this, and change it up? But the thing about it is, change is hard. We all know this. Not just for narky people, but for more well-adjusted people as well. But change will actually make you focus on the change and not the narcissist or those thoughts that you're having. You'll be too focused on, oh, okay, I have to go take the dog for a walk, or I'm going to stop and do this, or, oh, I'll call this person, I'll ask them about ABCXYZ, and you'll go on from there. Number 4, please stop being unrealistic. If you find yourself going back to what you did wrong, what did they do wrong? What could you have done differently? What could you have done to make this work? Knock that shit off. There are some relationships, narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic, whatever. 2 people sometimes are just not meant to work. And believe it or not, that's actually okay. The narcissist probably gave you a laundry list of things that they don't like about you, things you didn't do right, things you failed at, you weren't good enough. I don't see how that's supposed to make you feel bad about yourself, and I don't know when that's your problem. Obviously, we don't meet these people's expectations. I didn't either. Don't take it personally. But I'm sure that this person did not meet your expectations. My partner did not meet mine. You know what? Good. Be happy that you weren't good enough, quote unquote, for a brat, a princess, a child. That's unrealistic. Some relationships just don't work. Some people have unrealistic expectations. And by the way, not only are those people who aren't narcissistic, but narcs, you are damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're playing a game that you don't realize that you're playing. You don't know the rules. The rules that you don't even know can change at any time. Oh, and by the way, you lose by default because they always have to win. Stop being unrealistic. It's okay. It's okay if things don't work. If you didn't meet their expectations and they weren't meeting yours, why are you so concerned with really anything further? Whatever they're doing is really no consequence. It really doesn't matter. You were not a good match. You were not a mate. I'm sure when you close your eyes and envision your perfect partner, you don't think of this person. Therefore, you didn't lose the one. You didn't lose your true love, unless this is what you imagine your true love would do to you, which I can't imagine. This is what we think of when we think of our perfect, guy or girl, whatever, respectively, our perfect person. This isn't who we think about. So you didn't lose the one, the true love, the twin flame, the whatever else these people say. No, you didn't lose that. You lost one who wasn't the one. And aren't there like just over 8 billion people on this planet? I think you have plenty of other options to go from where maybe you'll be respected and treated like a human being. It's okay. Mutually, you weren't meeting each other's expectations. It's just like any other breakup. People break up when whatever expectations they have aren't being met, and it's usually pretty mutual. Some other helpful changes that we can do when ruminating are even in like our day-to-day lives. We can be more positive and proactive, like I talked about with constructive, compassionate criticism. Look at these things in your life that's causing you stress or upset or making you obsess and start taking action. Action is going to move you past rumination because you can solve the problem. When you solve the problem, it isn't a problem anymore. When you sit down and do that critical thinking, well, you know what? Yeah, I wasn't perfect, and I'm sure I did make mistakes and do things wrong, but they still could have treated me with some respect. They still could have had a conversation with me, even if they didn't want me. I say all day long, if you don't want to be with me, fine. Probably take a number and get in line, but I at least deserve an exit interview. I deserve to know what is happening and why. We can look at these things and give ourselves those answers and move forward. Helpful changes, like I say, in our day-to-day life, also boosting your self-esteem can help with rumination. A lot of our thoughts that are really intrusive are about how we aren't good at anything, or we're not worthy of anything, or really depressing, negative, oh, well, I guess that's just the way it is. But making ourselves feel better and boosting our self esteem can really alleviate those stressors, those negative thoughts, and allow us to ruminate so much less. Share your tips if you have any on how to move on from ruminating or anything else that you want to share. Feel free to do all that down in the comments. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe for more videos each week on narcissism, narcissistic abuse, how you heal, and how you move on. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself. If you feel like your relationship or your friendship with a narcissist was nothing more than a waste of your time and you're still angry about that and you're still focused on that, please listen to this video because I want to tell you about how going through this was absolutely anything but a waste of your time. You're learning or have learned about narcissism. And with learning about narcissism, I'm sure you have read things and listened to videos about illnesses and other disorders as well. I'm sure we're all halfway through a PhD program simply by searching around on the internet and reading and listening to things. And this will actually allow you to avoid people like this in the future. Not just narcissistic people, dramatic people, highly toxic people, all that stuff that you don't need in your life. It allows you to do things like not get seduced by love bombing. You spot it, you see it, identify it, and you don't get sucked in with a person who, when you do hang back, you can probably pretty quickly identify as either being highly narcissistic, a manipulator, a predator, someone that you don't want in your life. You're learning or have learned already how to spot these people and how to spot the red flags. It doesn't take long at all once you're kind of clued in and you know how to read between the lines. You can see that it's a red flag when somebody wants all your time and attention and they're relentless in their texting and their calling and wanting to see you. It's not good. It's not a good sign. It's not a good sign when they get upset if you tell them no, or you tell them you want to take things slowly, or you tell them that something doesn't work for you or makes you uncomfortable. It's a red flag. It's a glaring sign. You'll see those and more. You'll see all of this. And you'll know right away, this person is already someone you need to distance yourself from. Again, they might not necessarily be a full-blown diagnosable narcissist, but it's dramatic and it's toxicity that you don't want or need in your life. And once you come through this, you will have learned how to very quickly identify people who behave this way. You're also learning how to grieve. You might be learning about going no contact, staying no contact, how to actually get good at walking away from these people and moving on with your life. There's a lot to learn. It's very daunting. You fall down a rabbit hole and there's so many different forms of information coming at you, but you're still doing it. You've either been through the grieving process or you're in the middle of it. You're going through it. You're focusing on how to break the trauma bond. Maybe you already have. You're reading up on detachment, maybe even self-esteem boosting, and a plethora of other knowledge. You're getting all of this and doing all of this work. Maybe you're journaling and even doing other things to help your healing and help move your progress along even faster. Maybe like me, you've never done anything like this before. Imagine the knowledge that you have now that you didn't before. And on top of that, imagine the knowledge you have right now that millions of others still don't. You're learning about yourself. You're learning about empathy, codependency, and other things about you, like your resilience that maybe you didn't know you had before. I didn't know. Your strength, how smart you are, how much you've overcome. Maybe you're finally realizing you should appreciate yourself a little bit for everything that you've gone through. Again, like me, maybe you didn't know that you had those traits and abilities to be able to bounce back from anything. But you know what, survivor? Now you do know. And how wonderful that going through something like this, unfortunately, it shows you who you really are and who you need to be. You can seriously overcome anything that you set your mind to. And once you're aware that you have the power and the resilience and that kind of knowledge, who can stop you? The answer, unfortunately, is yourself. But other than that, the answer is absolutely nobody. Nobody can stop you. Nobody slows you down. Nobody gets in your way when they're too busy not being able to get out of their own way. You're learning why you choose individuals like this to be friends with or be partners in a relationship with. You'll figure out why you have been choosing people. Is this a pattern? You can work backwards and sort all of that out. You're probably doing that right now if you haven't already. Do you pick the underdog? Do you pick the victim? The project? The wounded bird? The damsel in distress? The bad boy? We can sort out why all that is, why this is happening. Is this a pattern? And once you know who you pick, you can go deeper and you can ask yourself, why? Is it to distract yourself so that you don't have to take charge of your own life? Do you need to do this to feel useful or loved or helpful? Do you feel that you don't deserve any better than this? So you better just take this while the getting is good? You can figure out why you're making these decisions. You're going to start seeing these patterns in people that are, narky and other people as well as yourself. You now know that we have to look for patterns in people. Are they consistent in whatever good or bad qualities? Are they not? And we have to look for those dramatic changes in those patterns. You're rediscovering who you are, who you need to be, where you want to be, maybe even finding new friends, new hobbies. Maybe you have a new purpose, or hell, more than one. Maybe you have new passions. You might have even gone a step further and gotten yourself into therapy, working on yourself, talking with somebody, making yourself a priority, probably for the first time in your life, survivor, if we're being honest with each other. You might be learning to boost your self-esteem, taking care of you, and realizing how important that is. Several years ago in therapy, my therapist handed me a piece of paper. She said, write down numbers 1 through 5. And she said, list your top 5 priorities. So I thought about it for a minute or two and I filled it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And she looked at me and she goes, y'all done? I said, I sure am. And she goes, great. What number were you? And I went, oh, I didn't even consider that. And you better believe that in the several years since all this has happened, that has definitely changed for me. And you might want to do the same kind of exercise. Where are you really on the priority list? It better be number 1. And if you haven't done any of these things yet at all, or you're halfway through, whatever, don't be hard on yourself. This is a process. I guarantee whoever you are, wherever you are, you're being too hard on yourself. You're struggling with perfectionism. You're asking too much from yourself. You're struggling with an ego bruise. Why did I let this happen? And, oh, I was so stupid. That was one of the things I said to myself quite a bit. Don't do that. You're so hard on yourself when all you've done is made a mistake. And now look at all of this valuable knowledge and understanding that you get. So don't worry about where you are. You're exactly where you need to be. And you'll be finished with all of your healing and move forward when you're ready to get there. With all you learn about narcissists, how to avoid them, how to handle them, and how to make yourself the best version of you that you can possibly be, I just have to ask how anyone could think that this is possibly a waste of time, the secrets and treasures and little nuggets about yourself. I would just do anything to get half of what I've gotten from this experience. That's just simply how I feel about it. If you'd like to talk to a fellow survivor one-on-one, get some help and some support for what you're going through, you can send an email to bookachatwithjess@gmail.com to set up appointments for those private sessions. You can do it by skipping the email if you want to do that. There's a link for you to click down in the description if you would like to do that. This is an incredible learning experience. It's painful, but absolutely possible. You can do whatever you want to do. I learned more about myself and who I needed to be than I did. And I learned a lot about narcissism, but I actually learned more about me. And that's what is actually even better about this. Who I am, who I needed to be. I also learned what was acceptable treatment and what was not. I learned and took the time to learn what a healthy relationship looked like, since honestly, I hadn't ever seen very many that were healthy. So thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe if you haven't for more videos on narcissism. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself. Today, I want to talk about something that keeps coming up in the community. When I talk with survivors or read comments, I keep seeing this recurring theme, and people keep saying, I don't know who to talk to about this, about my experience, about what I'm going through. I don't know where to go. So, I want to kind of share who I have learned to go to and talk about these things with, and where you can find support. And I'm going to be probably painfully honest in this video. Who and where can you kind of turn to? Who and where can you go to when you need something? Um, Not very many places, frankly. That's where your friends and family, if they're anything, like mine and with my experience, they only really understand what you're talking about and the way you feel if they've been through it. And yours, much like mine, like I say, will eventually get sick of you going on and on. And I've had people in my life say, Jess, it seriously enough. You're better off. This person was a complete loser. Move on. No one cares. Now, some friends and family are obviously more supportive than others, but I know I'm not alone in having issues with going to those people that are closest to us, friends and family. I get it. They get tired of it because it takes a long time for us to understand and cope and accept and, kind of move forward. So, what I tell people now is the truth. I don't talk to my family or my friends about my old relationship or any new ones that I have. There's frankly judgments and I told you so's and shit I don't need and nobody needs. My experience has taught me to have very not shallow, but like superficial, I guess, for lack of a better word, relationships with people. Most things that are important to me, that are on my mind, or that I'm struggling with or dealing with, I keep close to my heart at this point because I know better than to share. I know the consequences of that. I don't really let things get to a deeper level all that much. It's not that I can't. And with some people, I do get on a deeper level of talking and being able to share things and have more depth in a conversation. But with most folks in my life, it's, hi, how's your day? I'm good. How you doing? And that's, pretty much about it. It's not that I have no desire to open up. It's just, if I'm being honest with you, survivor, and I am, people can't handle it. Flat out, they can't. They can't handle the emotions and the issues. They don't know what to say or how to comfort. None of that. They just simply don't. And besides, sometimes we're just inconsolable. And there's nothing anybody can say. And there's nothing anybody can do. So what can we honestly expect from friends and family who don't have PhDs, who, aren't, full-time counselors and, doing all that stuff? And even if they were, what can they say in these inconsolable moments or these really confusing, painful moments? You know what they're going to do? They're going to tell you, go to therapy and work it out. So speaking of therapy, it's certainly a place where you can go and speak freely about what you're going through, but there are downsides. Most credentialed professionals are going to tell you that if you just want to whine and moan and complain about your ex-partner and not work on yourself, then you're going to need to go and do that somewhere else. I know this. I've heard it from people that have had that experience. It's even happened to people in my family. Well, if you're just going to come in and complain about this and not work on yourself, then I don't have any more time to schedule with you. And bless the hearts of most of these professionals, I guess they just don't seem to know what trauma bonding is or what it does. They don't seem to know brainwashing, love bombing, gaslighting, and you would think as professionals, you would think they do know about these things, and maybe they do. But the thing about it is are they right? Yes, they are. We do need to work on us. I totally agree. I frankly couldn't agree more. However, when I got discarded and ghosted, that was how I got discarded, was just poof, they were gone. I was crying my eyes out and unable to sleep at night without having nightmares and so on and so forth. Other terrible feelings I frankly just don't want to share. I wasn't interested in 5 healthy coping mechanisms or top ways to boost my self-esteem. I didn't care about that. I was lost and broken and confused. And I felt like I got hit by a truck and I was looking for my legs. And therapy's great. I will always say therapy is great. Eventually, once we can accept what's happened in the relationship and be able to kind of put it to bed and heal a little bit, and then we can focus on us. And that is the point where I think that regular talk therapy or group therapy or sessions are a really great idea to focus on you. So here are the best places to go for like actual support that will really help you. Here's the answer right here. Other people just like you. Other people just like you are the answer. Narcissistic abuse support groups, narcissistic abuse support books, articles on the internet, live streams, YouTube channels like this, and other survivors, other people who do this for a living like myself here on YouTube. Survivors have endless amounts of support for others. It's really quite fascinating that people who have been through so much bullshit still have the capacity to be empathic and care and just give and give and give. Like I say, endless amounts of support with no judgment. I don't think I've ever been harshly judged for anything I've said by people who actually matter, but I don't think I've ever been harshly judged and criticized in the 4 years I've been doing this on YouTube, because we're pretty much all aware of what the other people have been through to a certain degree. We've been love bombed and devalued, and some of us have been discarded. Some of us have walked away, and we've been there, or we are there. Some of us are, right in that moment. And we can talk about this stuff for hours. I know I've seen me do it. I don't talk about this stuff in therapy, in my own personal therapy, not anymore. Therapy didn't save me. And again, I'm going to be very honest about who did. Angie Atkinson did. Kevin from The Royal We, articles from Good Therapy and places like that. I would list other YouTube channels here, but, they just weren't around 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago when I was going through all this. I'm not saying they're not good channels. There's amazing channels out there now. They just really weren't there for me in the moment. So I listed the ones who really did help me. Angie Atkinson was unbelievable. And Kevin from The Royal We, he has amazing videos that I still reference 4 years later. My own journaling, my gratitude journaling, my research here for my channel, those are what got me through it. You, survivors, are another big part of what helped and still help me get through it. At the end of the day, I love doing this channel, but this did still happen to me, and I am still a survivor. And I don't think that you know how big of a role you actually play in continuing to keep me strong and have me feel better. But that list right there, that's what saved me. That's what made me better. And that's what made me stronger. Frankly, survivors, people who just knew this shit. They just know it. They know all of it. They've been right there. I don't share with my friends and family. In fact, I rarely even discuss my YouTube channel or my consulting services or what I do for a living. I know better. I don't want the looks or the pity that seems to come with it. I am not a victim. I don't want all the garbage that comes from the ignorance, frankly, of people when they just don't get something. I am glad. I'm really just thrilled, tickled pink that some people have no idea what this is and no idea what this is really like. But I do. Find other survivors. They are, without a doubt, the key to your healing from this. They are your best source of support. And the best thing is, as unfortunate as it is to say, we're everywhere. We're absolutely everywhere. I'm always going to encourage people to go to therapy with a professional once they are ready to really just get into it and work on themselves and solely, themselves. And they have been able to put a lot of this that's happened to them behind them. But when you're just really in the middle of it, survivors, that's who saves you. Other people who have been through it, people who have been through the shit and are now paying it forward and trying to help other people get through this. So if you would like, please share something positive and inspirational down in the comments for other survivors to read. If you are looking for support, I have live streams right here on YouTube, Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern and Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern. Everybody is welcome to join us. You can chat, you can ask questions, you can just listen. Never any pressure to do anything. If you want to speak with me one-on-one, I offer those services and you can always email me. It's bookachatwithjess@gmail.com if you want information on that. I highly encourage support groups on social media, as well as, of course, other YouTubers that I've listed and the countless others that have great resources. I always encourage you to check those out. There is plenty of support out there for you. You just have to make sure that you find good support. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself. In my own process of healing from a toxic relationship, I was constantly my own worst enemy, getting on my own case about why I wasn't moving on, why I wasn't over things yet. This just wasn't happening fast enough, and how could I even miss such an awful person to begin with? In this video, I want to talk about missing the narcissist and why so many people do this, and how we can go through all of this in hopefully a much more comfortable way. I'm going to talk about what I personally discovered on my journey of healing and what did actually make me stop missing the narcissist. I'll be very transparent when I tell you that the first thing that happened to me was I realized how incredibly wrong and unhealthy I was doing every single part of this entire damn process. And I have no issues in saying that. Everything that I teach, that I try to show other people, I did probably the opposite of that. I stumbled across the healing process and the grieving process in my studies of narcissism, and then, of course, in my research of trying to get over all of it. And I had heard of it before, but I didn't really get what it all entailed. And this isn't the video where I want to take a deep dive into the grieving process. If you want a video like that, let me know, but this isn't where I want to do that. But after finding out where I was in those stages of healing, then I started to work on the trauma bond and how you break it. And the 10 steps that I learned to start breaking some of those things were extremely helpful. So helpful, in fact, that years later, I still refer to those 10 steps when making videos and talking in the comments and working with clients. A lot of stuff I try to share and teach is literally what got me going in the right direction. Grieving, trauma bonds, that's all fine and good. Definitely really important things that we need to be aware of, and they do help, like I say, get us moving in a more positive and more productive way. But I want to share what actually really struck me. I read an article online about healing from a toxic relationship, and I wish I knew who wrote it because I would share it with everybody, but that was so long ago. But my takeaway from the article was we need to grieve, really grieve the loss and all the losses. And the discovery I had there was there's actually more than one thing. There was more than one thing I was having a hard time getting over than just missing this person. I didn't just miss him. I missed the good times. I missed what I thought I had that I very clearly did not. I missed the relationship, and it hit me that we're all dealing with more than one loss as we go through this. And I think that's why it's even harder. And I'm positive that for other survivors, they had and have even more to miss than I did in my situation. And one day when I was journaling about grieving and loss and all this stuff, something just kind of hit me. So I am actually going to share with you verbatim, and I'm going to read you what I wrote. You have to grieve what you lost. You lost someone who at one time meant the world to you. Maybe they still do. You can't just call them a loser and think you're going to move on. You don't go to a funeral and call someone a loser. You reflect and talk about how great they were, how missed they will be. That's how you get through this. It is a loss. It is a death. The death of who we thought they were. Grieve for who isn't here anymore, accept who is, and then move forward. And that's the trick right there. It was for me. When I read about grieving this as a loss, it hit me death. And I know that sounds morbid as shit, and it is, I'm not going to lie, but I swear it worked. I took the narcissist, the idea I had of this person, and I pulled them apart into two people who I met in the beginning of the relationship at that love bombing stage and who I really just fell madly in love with. And then there was the rest, who I got at the end, the liar, the cheater, manipulator, abuser. But once pulled into two people, I could handle the situation so much better. It was much more easier for me to deal with. I remember so many times being absolutely inconsolable and thinking, why? Why am I still crying over this loser? I would get so pissed at myself, so angry to where I was scolding myself for having feelings and being emotional. But through this process, I learned I wasn't crying over the loser. Nobody is crying over their abuser, the cheater, the manipulator, all that stuff. That's not who we're crying over. I was crying over what was gone now, who I missed, the good times, the positive side. And once it became two people, I could grieve. You know what made things easier for me among all these other things? When I stopped trying to convince myself I hated this person, because I didn't and I never did. Was I angry? Absolutely. But hate, that's a strong word. And I just never did. When I told myself I love this person who was in the beginning of the relationship and not this person who was at the end, I loved one, not the other, I felt better. We don't grieve the bad. Like I say, who misses the bad? Nobody in the history of ever misses the bad. Nobody. I allowed myself to appreciate the good times, realized how few there actually were, but appreciate nonetheless. All the bad, all the negative, all the awfulness, I took that and dealt with it completely differently. That's where you break the trauma bond. That's where you boost your self-esteem. That's where you do entirely other things to help grieve and get over the bad side of everything. I gave myself time to miss and grieve. And then I said, Jess, they're dead now, gone, never coming back. And that's death. You know, they're there, they're in your life, and then they're gone. And that's it. I mentally put him in the ground and said a few words and kept on moving on. It was honestly one of the smartest and best things I ever did. And I know that I've told this story before and I always get feedback like, well, that's stupid. I'm not going to grieve over somebody who doesn't exist. The love bombing, it's all fake and it's all bullshit and they don't mean it. So I'm not going to grieve that. That doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. I don't subscribe to that idea. I truly believe narcissists are trying to put their best foot forward in love bombing. I believe they're obsessed with us and smitten and know nothing about us at all and don't look before they leap, and we seem perfect. But once they find out we're just mere mortals, the devaluing begins, among other reasons why the devaluing begins. But nonetheless, narcissists have feelings, unless they're a complete sociopath, but most of them aren't. Most of them have feelings. They have ideas of love. They want it, but they're terrified of it all at the same time. And I've said it for years. These people are human riddles, conundrums. They want something, then they don't. They want it, but they're scared. They fear commitment and rejection. I mean, how is this even? This is some kind of an enigma that sometimes is still a little daunting for me to understand. But I think their ideas of love and happiness are there. They're just extremely selfish and skewed, but it doesn't mean it's not there. I think they try to give it all they have, but unfortunately, they can't keep it together. Narcissism is just so deeply rooted into their brain, a horrible habit, a life-altering disorder, and something that it just always ruin everything for them, unfortunately. And regardless of what your opinion is on whether or not you think the love bombing is real or fake, honestly, whatever you think is totally fine. Obviously, of course, your opinion is fine. I don't care. But whatever way you go on it, let me say this. It felt real to me. And therefore, in my reality, it was. And that's why I chose to grieve it And that's why I chose to have my moment and then move forward. And it really helped me. When I was 5 and Santa brought me presents, that was also very real to me. So I think we all have to develop our own coping mechanisms over time. And for me, this is just what works. I can and usually do talk shit on narcissists all day, and I'll do it. I'll do it again. I still will. But I do always keep in the back of my mind that I'm positive nobody wants to live this way. I'm positive that what they're dealing with really sucks. And just like we have our reality and we have what's real to us and what isn't, they also have theirs. And our reality is much different from theirs, and yours is probably different than mine. And again, that's also fine. But the whole point of this video was I really just wanted to share what helped me, because I'm truly hopeful that it will help somebody else. And I really think that it will, regardless of what your opinion is. If you think about them as two different people, I think that might get some people going in a more positive direction. Learning all of this and that really cliche time heals all wounds thing and finding passions and purpose in life, that's how you stop missing someone toxic like a narcissist. It's how I was able to resolve a lot of issues and struggles, not just from, people that I dated, which is the main, focus of my channel, but this also helped me resolve issues from my narcissistic father, who destroyed me mentally for over 15 years. Before I ramble any further, thank you so much for listening. If this helps you, please let me know down in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself. In this video, I want to discuss a topic that keeps coming up a lot: rumination. I keep hearing it from my clients and see all the comments on my videos about it. So I want to go over what it is, why it happens, and of course, how you can begin to make all of it stop. If you enjoy the content, I do invite you to subscribe for more. Briefly, I want to define rumination. Rumination is an extremely obsessive thought pattern. It is incredibly hard to break. You keep thinking about the same things over and over. True rumination is very distracting. You can't concentrate at all. And as a result of this, your work suffers, your other relationships can suffer, your kids, etc. You get into your own head, your own brain way, way too deeply. And the first thing I want you to know is that this is normal when you've been in a narcissistic relationship. It's incredibly common, and it doesn't have to last forever. And usually it doesn't. Rumination is normal after being in a relationship with a narcissist. Well, why? Let's think about it. A relationship with a narcissist, it is nothing but manipulation, mind games, power struggles, control issues. These people lack logic. A lot of what they do makes absolutely no sense at all. As a result of that, here you are now trying to make sense of all of the confusion. And there is a lot of it, between gaslighting, triangulation, everything else I just talked about, and more. Lots of people have very similar thoughts when they're ruminating. The most common ones are, well, maybe I'm the problem. You're told you're the problem, right? The narcissist told you so. Well, maybe they were right. Or what could I have done differently to make this work? Maybe I just wasn't clear about certain things. A lot of the times the narc's new supply gets pulled in to our rumination too. Thoughts of, well, why is this new person so special? Or what do they have that I don't have? What happens if the narcissist changes and all of a sudden they and this new person are just gonna live out some kind of wonderful, romantic, perfect fairy tale? Some people reflect and ruminate about being discarded, just being abused in general, or hell, even being love bombed. We get nostalgic and fall back into obsessively thinking about when we were love bombed and all the good times that we had. Some people ruminate on the whole devaluing stage, and we can end up having entire conversations in our brain, in our minds with this person. Oh, I should have said this. I should have said that. Oh, if I would have done this, Oh, I know if they hoover me, I'll do this and I'll show them. You play all these scenarios in your head over and over and over through the love bombing, the devaluing, about the discard, really any and all of it. And sometimes it can change depending on what's going on. You feel the need to play it out, all the ideas, like I say, all the scenarios. You're trying to find something where it could be different. You're trying to do what everyone who is ruminating is trying to do. You're trying to make sense where there is no sense to be made whatsoever. And in some cases, you're trying to fix something that is extremely broken and cannot be fixed. You obsess about how to make all the wrong things right. And some of this, I feel, is because there's a lack of closure that we get. There's no closure when the relationship with the narc ends, usually. We get no information about anything. And so we become desperate for answers to things. We get triggered by certain things and convinced that we have to do right. We have to do better. We have to fix what's like unfixable. And this can absolutely consume a person. You might be stalking social media. You might be driving by their house or their work. You might have a whole letter typed out and ready to go that you're waiting to fire back if you get hoovered or if you see them somewhere. So much time, effort, and energy is being put into something that will never change, and it will never make a damn bit of difference. And the thing is you keep doing it over and over and over. If you'd like to talk one-on-one about what you're going through with a narcissist and get some help and support, you can email bookachatwithjess@gmail.com for information on setting up private chats with me. So what can be done to start to make all of this go away? The first thing that I always recommend is therapy. If you can, go see a therapist or a counselor. They can work with you and hear your situation and give you tools that are catered to you and your situation to be able to help. And not just in this area of your life, but in other areas too. When it comes to trying to break the obsession, the habit that's now formed, which is what this is, the next thing I want to bring up is distractions. And I've talked about this before, and most people know my stance on distractions and that they don't really work as far as I'm concerned. But when dealing with rumination, I want to bring this up and discuss it a little bit differently. Yes, anything you can do to distract yourself, even if it is for 5 seconds, do it. A lot of times when you're doing something and you begin to ruminate, sometimes all you need to do is just get up and walk into another room and start doing something else. When I get too deep into my own bullshit, I learned in therapy, I literally just get up and go into another room and start doing something else. It is a quick, simple little thing that can distract you in the moment. I truly don't think that distractions do a lot of the work, though. It's kind of one of those, it's just kind of popped up. What do I do? What I do believe does do a lot of the work is passion and purpose. And I know those of you who have been on my channel for years now knew that I was going to get here. There is a difference between distractions and passions. A passion is something that fascinates you. It lights a fire under your ass, and it becomes all that you focus on. For me, a passion is doing work here on my channel. I've been working, scripting, doing something knee deep in email or something. I have totally missed my phone ringing, audibly ringing on my desk right next to me because I'm in a zone. I'm completely zoned out. I'm doing something that has really just got me in its depths, and I can't get out. The more you turn your mind on to other things, distractions, doing something different, finding a passion, the narc and your situation in general is in your mind less and less and less. And that's the whole goal here. If you go from thinking about someone 24 hours a day to 23 and a half hours a day and 22 hours a day, and slowly you start filling your life with other things, distractions, hobbies, purpose, passions, things like that, then slowly you are going to break the habit and break the cycle. I like passions and purpose. Purpose is something I've begun to lump in along with passion when I talk about this. Passion and purpose make you feel valuable. It makes you feel amazing to have a passion to work on, or several. Some people call them hobbies. That's fine. I have hobbies, but I also have passions. And you know the difference as far as I'm concerned. You know it's a passion when you dive in, and like I do, you completely lose yourself and track of time. If you're not even thinking about yourself, you know who you also aren't thinking about.
And I like passions and purposes that are helpful and creative. I like to help others and volunteer. I donate to organizations. It makes you feel good on top of that. It boosts your self-esteem. It helps get that ego up a little bit that's now in the dumps because of a narcissist. Being creative is also great because you get to do just that. You get to create something. You get to make something where there wasn't anything before. My whole career is full of passion and purpose. I get to try and help people, and I get to make my videos. I get to make content. I create something where there wasn't something before. I get the best of both worlds. I'll also share what I learned in therapy with you, which is mindfulness. Mindfulness is used to try and relieve anxiety, which is sometimes what we feel a lot of when we're ruminating. We're very, very anxious. We're very, very nervous and upset. And some examples of practicing that mindful behavior are things like breathing exercises, meditation, stretching. Some people do yoga. Some people do exercises where they try to find things they can taste and touch and smell to kind of help keep you grounded and keep you mindful in the moment. As far as mindfulness, I can't speak too seriously on it. I just do very specific things that work for me, but I do recommend, of course, working with a professional on things like mindfulness. And you can do yet another thing I did, which I call, quote unquote, get revenge. You're not actually going to get revenge. There isn't anything you can do. But for me, once I learned what I had been dealing with, I did what I could to, quote unquote, like get even. I started this YouTube channel. I wanted to expose in a weird kind of way. I did therapy, still do therapy, got sober. I learned there is no real revenge, but I started doing things that he said I couldn't do. I started doing things to make myself feel better. I started thinking I can actually overcome this and be even better than I was before I met him. I'm going to do things he thinks I'm too weak to do. I'm going to do things that he told me I never could do. But the thing about it is that's what I started doing it for. I'm like, oh, I'll show you. I'll be better, wiser, faster, stronger. In the end, I stopped doing it to get revenge, so to speak, on him. And I actually kept doing them for me because they made me so happy. They made me proud of myself. It showed me who I really could be. And you can do it too. What did the narc say that you couldn't do? Go and do whatever it is because it feels really good and it stops becoming a revenge thing and becomes more of a you thing. If you have any other tips on how you maybe stopped ruminating or you don't do it as much, I do ask you to please leave them down in the comments for other survivors to read. If we share and, get all this knowledge back and forth, then we can all help each other out. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself. I'm sure we all know how it feels to be with someone toxic like a narcissist. What I want to talk about here is what personally bothered me the most, made me feel the worst, and how I got myself untangled from all of it and able to move forward. So, how it felt dating a narcissist. First and foremost, it gave me a constant feeling of loneliness. One of the weirdest things I've truly ever experienced in my life was being with someone in a relationship but still feeling completely alone all of the time, regardless of what was happening. I never married this man, and I never felt safe and secure enough with the idea of moving in and more so merging our lives together. So there was always that disconnect, I have to be honest. But as time moved on, things actually got worse and worse. There were less visits and less time spent together, less phone calls, less texting, as my relationship did that classically narcissistic thing where communication dwindles down and becomes nothing. And lo and behold, I was discarded. Didn't take long after that. So much of my time was spent wondering, where is he? What was going on? Who is he cheating on me with now? Am I getting the truth? Is this really something that I can buy into? These really terrible, awful feelings. All I did was act as a problem solver for him and run errands. And clearly that was what I seemed to sign up for and be okay with for a year and a half, but it was all extremely lonely. Loneliness is something that doesn't go away after the relationship is over.
It's not, as if you're saying, well, now that the relationship is over, now I'm completely alone. I think when something ends with a narcissist, it's like, wow, it's over. And I actually feel just as lonely as I did before. Maybe a little bit more lonely, but I realize now how alone I actually was through that entire relationship. Curing loneliness isn't something that I'm going to sit here and pretend that I excel at doing. And I don't know who does. But I found what honestly worked best for me was deciding I needed to dive into my passion, which quickly became figuring out what the hell I was actually passionate about. And it very quickly became my research and this channel, which I worked so hard at that it became my full-time job. I know that when you're trying to fix something like loneliness, for example, this is just not something that distractions can fix. I got horrible advice from several YouTube videos that said, just distract yourself. Fill every second of the day with doing something else. And it's horrible advice. I'll also tell you the advice of, oh, just go find somebody else. And that doesn't work either. Not because a new person sucks, though most of them probably will, but that doesn't fix anything. What fixes loneliness, what makes you really feel better is passion and purpose and understanding that there is real love in the world and it's worth waiting for. It's worth working on yourself to go and find that real love. That's what's going to fix loneliness. Passion, purpose, and waiting to find what is actually right for you. If you'd like to talk one-on-one about a narcissistic relationship that you're in right now, or maybe you are still working on getting over a relationship like this, you can email bookachatwithjess@gmail.com to set up private chats and coaching with me if you feel you need it. The next most glaring feeling I always seemed to have was humiliation and feeling very, very stupid. Now, I was never publicly humiliated or anything like that, thank goodness. This was more going on all inside of my brain. Ironically, he wasn't actually doing anything to me. I was doing this to myself. I felt stupid staying with a man that I knew was cheating on me. It was humiliating to try so hard for someone, give so much to somebody, all I had, and I still seemed to fall short regardless of what I did. Or it wasn't appreciated what I was doing. On occasion, I was even told things like, well, I didn't ask you to do that, instead of, the normal human response, which should be, thank you. I constantly asked myself, why am I continuing to do this exactly? And I felt even more stupidity upon my discard. My ego wasn't just bruised, it was run over by a fucking car when I had done everything I could do, put up with so much, did so much shit I never even wanted to do in the first place, and then I was dropped like garbage that never mattered at all. More pain was added onto all of that when I realized I never truly did matter and nobody does. As you very well know, that's a place that's really hard to come back from. Feeling humiliated and stupid and having an ego bruise of the millennium took a while to fade away. There is a difference, though, between being naive and being stupid. I simply didn't know what any of this is. I knew it was wrong and toxic, but I never really put much more thought into it than any of that. I knew the things that were going on were not correct. I had no idea this whole world and all these phrases and this jargon and everything existed. It doesn't make me, you, or anybody else stupid if you are purposefully tricked. Being tricked, being lied to. Yes, obviously I'm clueless as to what is going on. I'm going to be. Narcissists love doing these things. If me being naive and this man tricking me did something for his life, for his self-esteem, you know what? Good for him. That's all I can really say. I made it a mission to educate myself in an attempt to be less naive. I told myself I would never make the same mistake again. In time, you just stop being so hurt about it and feeling stupid. Like I say, I always go back to, if he really thinks he got something over on me, good for him. You know what? I let him have that win. People like this really, really need every single win they can get their hands on. They have a sorry, sad ass little life. So, they can have it if they think they just schooled me or they were so much smarter. Fine. That's really fine. I truthfully can't be bothered at this point. Another thing that was one of the worst feelings, so to speak, and what was happening was all of my self-esteem that just got shattered. And when I met this person, I already had very little to begin with. So it didn't take long at all for me to have absolutely none. After being chewed up and spit out and discarded, you feel lower than low. That kind of goes without saying. Years ago, I actually had to sit down and Google ways to boost self-esteem. I had to take notes and write out a list of things that I actually had to force myself to do. Self-esteem and confidence take time to get back. Again, another thing that goes without saying, but full recovery in and of itself after something like this is a huge process. And if you think you're just going to go from being broken and beside yourself to completely better, now that is something that is also naive, very naive thought to have. You have to heal from the relationship and get in a better place before the focus can even become, all about you and boundaries and standards and self-esteem and everything like that. You have to heal from the relationship, put the relationship to bed, get in a better place with dealing with all of that. Then you actually have to sit down and begin doing all of the work on yourself. I guess I'm learning that real true healing from something like this happens when you want it to and not until. You'll feel as good as you want to feel. You will work as hard as you want to work if and when you're ready. As controversial as this next sentence is going to be, I'm saying it anyway because fuck it, I don't care. Truthfully, I don't think a lot of survivors truly want to heal. I think they want to study this person that they've dated, and they want to study them like some kind of fucked up 6th grade science experiment. And as fascinating as narcissists are, and they are, it takes a lot of focus off of us. And we don't have to fix us when we hyper-focus on this person and how much of an asshole they are. Some people just kind of want to sit in that zone and not have to work on themselves and focus on something that somebody else did. But that's my opinion. I suppose it's neither really here nor there. Depression is another really big thing that can happen, and pretty much it always does. Depression and anxiety, they're wonderful bedfellows. I find a lot of time, this list is really endless. I mean, we can all feel just a number of things when we're dealing with somebody like this. But with that being said, these were the biggest problems for me. So now I'm throwing it over to you to share with me down in the comments. What were the worst things for you? What were the worst feelings that you had when you were, with somebody narcissistic? Or if you're still in this relationship, how are you feeling right now? If you feel better, maybe you're out of the relationship. Tell me how you feel. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself. In this video, I want to talk about how we become so heavily addicted to somebody highly narcissistic. When we really start to feel that tug, that back and forth, what the narcissist does and why we react the way we do. We can't talk about a trauma bond if we don't talk about the first stage of narcissistic abuse, which is love bombing. Now, I am fully aware that not all narcissists are created equal. Some narcissists provide large, grand gestures during love bombing, fancy, expensive, exotic trips. Some spend a lot of money, some sweet talk you to death like you're in a romance novel, and some don't really do that much at all as far as love bombing is concerned. For most of us, though, we do get placed on a pedestal by the narcissist very quickly. We are highly regarded and protected, made to feel like we are wonderful, special, unique, whatever it is we feel like we are missing in our lives. This person seems to provide it absolutely perfectly. They're just the last piece in the little puzzle. This person gives us everything that they have in the early stages. Most of us respond in kind by giving everything that we have right back. For a lot of survivors, myself included, love bombing was absolute pure euphoria. I had never felt so treasured in my life. And all of a sudden, here comes somebody who not only wanted to treasure me, but wanted to tell me how valuable I was pretty much every second of the day. So we get it. Love bombing. We're all built up, feeling wonderful. And this causes us to become completely smitten with this person. They seem to feel exactly the same way about us. The only issue here is everything is good until naturally it isn't anymore. It's not good anymore at all. So devaluing slowly begins to creep in over the first few months. Those subtle jabs at your self-esteem where the narcissist says, oh, I'm just kidding. I didn't mean it. Don't be so sensitive. And those seeds of insecurity are planted in the back of your brain, left to fester over time. This right here is where the trauma bond forms, because now we're completely addicted to this person because of the love bombing phase. We've had a few weeks or months of wonderful, amazing behavior, but now suddenly we're being insulted and we're being teased and we can't seem to do anything right. There might be physical violence, but now we have this attachment to this person. And that's what the trauma bond is, an attachment to somebody who is causing you trauma. Now that devaluing has begun, we start to see what's called positive intermittent reinforcement. It can also be called intermittent punishment and reward. They treat us badly, and sometimes we can't understand why, but we know in our minds and in our hearts that, things will start to be good again. Things will be like they were before if we just kind of wait through this. We make excuses for the narcissist. We make excuses for why we stay. It all boils down to we've become so addicted to the love bombing and to this person, we can't bear the thought that we might never have it again. So we justify in our minds that it's worth waiting for. We'll get it again. We just have to wait. We're trained to stay because in true narcissistic fashion, when we are at our weakest, at our lowest, we get a reward. When we say we've had enough and we try to leave, we'll get a reward. We get sweetness, romance, whatever it is, whatever they think will make us stay. That's what we get from them. If you need to talk about a narcissistic relationship you're currently in, or maybe you're still having trouble getting over, you can email bookachatwithjess@gmail.com to get one-on-one chats and coaching with me if you feel you need that support. Fear keeps us in this place with this person far longer than we need to be. Also, the hope of things returning to the way they once were. I said so many times in my own relationship with a narcissist, what the fuck is happening? Why can't things just be like they were before? There was nothing wrong. Now all of a sudden things are different and everything is wrong and I don't understand. Of course, asking this aloud, I was met with the classic narcissistic answer of, well, as soon as I changed, things would be okay again. As soon as I worked on myself, I needed an attitude adjustment. As soon as I forgave him for everything bad and stopped being so negative, I just needed to hurry up and get over the cheating, the lying, the thieving, and everything would be good. I was the one keeping the relationship down. I wouldn't forgive and let it go and get positive, so on and so forth. The trauma bond forms after this punishment and reward system is repeated a few times. Punishments from a narcissist are things super obvious: physical violence, silent treatments, ghosting. There can be others. Some lash out, yell, scream, narcissistic rage. It's a very real and horrific thing. Rewards are given, again, when you're at your weakest point and they feel like it's safe to give you something. They can't possibly build you up too much. They can't risk that happening. So they will give you that when they feel it's safe to give you those rewards. It will also be done. You will also be rewarded when you act accordingly. If a narcissist lies to you, for example, and you know that shit is a lie, but you pretend like you believe it, maybe you just don't want to have a fight about it, whatever the case may be, you might actually see the narcissist perk up and get happy. They might even choose then to be sweet or nice to you. They got one over on you, or you're choosing not to say anything. They don't really care which one, but you're subsequently rewarded for believing the lie or not bringing up the fight. They get happy, so you're rewarded for just looking the other way. We keep waiting, and things are one day going to be the way they were before. And no, I learned a long time ago that people in situations like all of us were in, or maybe some of us still are in, we make that really dangerous one-day wager, which is something I've talked about on the channel over the last couple years, but I haven't addressed it in a while, so I want to talk about it now. The one-day wager. We tell ourselves, surely things will be better tomorrow. I can stay one more day. What's one more day? Things will change. They will realize they're hurting me. I can do something to make things change. I can do it. I'll do all the work by myself and I'll make something happen. What's the harm in it, right? It's just one more day. It almost seems reasonable until you turn around and realize that you've waited one day for several days and dozens. And for myself and so many others, I gave it hundreds of days. Some people give thousands, and nothing comes of it. We're bonded, we're addicted, and nothing is ever going to change. And this is part of the process in every narcissistic relationship. A narc needs you to be hooked on them. It gives them one hell of an ego boost, number one. And furthermore, you are so less likely to leave. You're hooked. You want nothing but this person and that wonderful euphoria you got at the beginning of the relationship. They will torture you with ideas. They hate you. They despise you. Some even flat out tell you, look, I can do better than you. So, just sit down, shut up, and be lucky I'm with you because I can do better. And then without warning, you're wonderful and amazing again. There can be no rhyme or reason to it. You become extremely confused. Gaslighting comes into play. They're isolating you. They push you away and pull you close, back and forth. It becomes incredibly confusing. I've said in other videos that the discard causes excruciating pain. I know because I was discarded, and it caused me to become, frankly, suicidal. It's agony that still years later, I really can't put into words. I felt like my heart and my soul and everything else about me was just gone. I was just like an empty shell of a person. Discarding is terrible. Devaluing is also not a fun thing to endure. Months and years of being treated like you are just as replaceable as any other inanimate object in the world. Violence, fighting, cheating, gaslighting, triangulation, jealousy, isolation. Being devalued is seriously not for the faint of heart. But I still hold true to my own personal belief that the love bombing is the most damaging, the most sinister of everything happening right there, because that is where it all starts. It's impossible to fall as low as we do through the rest of the relationship if we were never placed up so high to begin with. They truly build us up just to devastatingly knock us down. Things go from fairy tale to nightmare. The love bombing is absolutely intoxicating. We would do anything to get it. And I know so many of us can relate to that. I don't want to say I put up with it, but I allowed myself to be treated in a way that never should have happened. And this is where it all starts right here in love bombing. It truly is the beginning of the end. If you have thoughts on love bombing, devaluing, trauma bonding, anything else, you can leave them down in the comments. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself. In this video, I want to talk about crucial steps you need to take to break the addiction to a toxic narcissist. So let's jump right in. Number one, fantasy versus reality. Whether you have left the toxic relationship or not, what has to be done pretty much immediately is to stop fantasizing about what the relationship could be. Hoping and wishing and wanting is one of the primary things that keeps us waiting around way longer than we need to be. Whatever it is that you want that isn't happening, it's never happening. It's never going to happen. We have to remember this. It never will. And this is the step where we have to say goodbye to those fantasies and start living in reality. Again, even if you can't leave right now for whatever reason, you do have to start realizing that these dreams and fantasies, illusions, ideas are just that: fantasies, dreams, illusions, and ideas. Number two, Live in the now. Living in the now goes hand in hand with the first step. You have to stop holding on to the could be, should be, would be one day. Hey, maybe it will be, maybe again someday. That narrative that you have in your mind. What's actually happening right now? You probably feel super unloved, unsafe, disrespected. That is the reality. That is what is happening right now. Living in the now is important because we have to stop making that one day wager. Every day that we wake up and we are still in this relationship or still thinking about it, we're silently and even subconsciously making that one day wager. Things will be better tomorrow. And that sounds fair enough, right? It's only one day. Until it's weeks, months, even years of waiting for that one day, that one thing to happen where everything will suddenly be different. And it's a day that is never going to come. I mean, why hasn't it by now? We're just going to keep waiting and waiting. You never feel better. You're still miserable each day that you wait. So notice again the here and the now. Notice how unloved you feel. Think of everything that you're sacrificing by doing this, especially time. Time is a non-renewable resource that we cannot get back. We're wasting time. You are lowering your standards, your self-respect, and you're putting it all in essentially with this person who most of the time doesn't care if any of us live or die. Pay attention to how you feel in the now while you wait and wait and wait and begin making those choices to ignore fantasy, get rid of fantasy, walk in the light of the truth, live in the now, and wait for nothing. This is the reality. Number 3, one day at a time. Extremist ways of thinking are, well, first of all, not healthy, but secondly, they can be terrifying. If we're in a relationship or even after a breakup, we can say things to ourselves